Save the Semantics, episode 55. It is January 7th, 2019. That's right, we are in the new year, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Myra. This is the podcast where I ramble on about things, topics, or whatever it is that currently interests me. Um, I have to admit, I had to restart that intro there like a couple of times because I kept fucking up on the date. I was like January 27th for some reason, and then I said January 7th, 2017, for some reason. I don't know. I'm just losing track of time, as I always do. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just tired, I guess. I'm always tired for some reason. I always have some dumbass excuse for being tired. You know why you're tired, Myra? You were up late watching some shit. Actually, that's not true. There was a power outage last night, and I went to bed early. And I think the issue is that I got too much sleep, and that's why I'm tired. I'm never. There's rarely any moments where I'm actually, fully awake. I feel, and I don't really do any drugs or anything like that. But there's probably some other factor. It might be coffee. I don't know. Maybe it's my intake of coffee that sort of fucks up my systems. Right now at the moment, I am currently just grasping on to the last few hours of my winter break. Because later this afternoon I will have my class, and I will have to get back into my academic schedule, and that's going to be it's going to be interesting. I think last quarter went relatively well. It wasn't my best best quarter in terms of grades, or term in terms of grades, but I felt that I was pretty productive for the most part. Of course, I can improve on those grades and other aspects, but for the most part, I thought things went well. I took all upper division classes and whatnot, so it was pretty stressful for the most part, but I felt like I can make some adjustments throughout the year, including this, starting today, make some changes to the way I learn, I guess, or make some changes in terms of the way I approach certain topics, certain subjects, and whatnot. So yeah, I think for the most part, I'm relatively optimistic, based on how things went previously, and yeah, that's that. Anyways, that does it for the podcast. No, yeah, in terms of academics, I think things are going all right. Um, I just, there's always sort of that anxiety of going into going back into sort of schedule, because 3 weeks is not that long of a break. It certainly didn't feel that long. It felt more like a week. It felt more like a long week as opposed to a little less than a month. So I just have to we just have to adjust to that. It's just sort of it's a weird transition period where you're on break, and I did, I worked and stuff like that, but I still wasn't in that same mentality, that same motion of where I have a set schedule of things to do, and I set to do them, and sometimes I don't do them on time. Most of the time I do. Most of the time I set aside the time to complete tasks and whatnot. But when you're just kind of lounging around, you're sort of dazed and sort of not confused, but you're just dazed and you're kind of out of it, and you get sort of weird about it. Like right now, I'm still kind of I'm trying to get out of that funk, I'm trying to get out of that break funk. I'm not, I like break, of course. I do. It's a nice change of pace. It was nice to get off, and sort of take your mind off of school for a little moment, but it also kind of, there's also the cons of it too, just like I don't like being in a position where I'm like, I I don't have anything to do. I have to kind of make things for myself. I'm not the most like creative type of person where I can just kind of go out and make something of my own. I'm not that kind of person, right? So I like having a bit of a structure in a sense, you know. Um, so I have to kind of adjust back to that, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but and I think that I also think that I don't really take into account how much time I spend, uh, relaxing, and I don't really know if I like relax properly, which is a weird thing to say, right? But I think that I definitely in some ways took this little break for granted because, for one, it went by incredibly fast, which is fine, which is, it is how it is. I consider it to be a good thing because it means that, I had fun while I had it, and I didn't realize how much time had gone by, but it also means that I don't know if I had fully relaxed enough. Maybe I have, but I don't know if I really put my mind to rest. Because at the back of my mind, there's always like a lingering thing I have where I'm always just worried about certain things going wrong, academically or just in my personal life and stuff like that. So I think I'm still trying to figure out the best way to sort of actually settle down and relax because I'm just sort of I'm always kind of restless, is that the right word? And I just don't really I think there's other activities and habits that I might need to think about, I guess, in order to relax. As much as I enjoy playing Super Smash Bros. And even Fortnite, I'll give Fortnite that. I do enjoy playing it at times, but I wouldn't consider those activities to be relaxing in a way, especially because it requires like a certain amount of concentration, and it does. It can be. It's weird. It shouldn't be, but it can be kind of stressful at times. And I think I don't know. I'm just trying to find like another way to just sort of take my mind off of things, and sort of you know concentrate on a topic without thinking about other things. And I think one of those things that sort of help get, just put my energy towards something that's relatively healthy is like games and stuff like that. And I spent a pretty decent chunk of time this break playing like board games and card games with friends, and I felt that was pretty beneficial for the most part. Mainly because like I realized like I sort of took myself out of it at a moment, and I realized like, oh, I'm not like worried about certain things about the next part of my life and whatnot, and current things that are bothering me and stuff like that. Like I can sort of take out my energy on those things without really worrying too much about it. And I think I don't know, maybe it's just the way I play like video games is that where I get kind of I don't know. I'm not like I am an avid gamer, but I'm not like an intense gamer, I guess. Um, but regardless of that, I still get kind of stressed out by it. So I think I don't know. I think I just need to instead of just taking because both games are they have they're very competitive, and the main goal is just to sort of win. That's sort of the goal. And I think that I just need to maybe I just need to find a way to enjoy it more. Like instead of, taking into account your Smash leaderboard score or whatever it is the online leaderboard account is called on for Smash Online. Maybe I should just like enjoy playing the game even if I do lose. Because I initially when I was playing the game I got pretty frustrated because I wasn't used to the controls. Transitioning from the Smash 3DS game, which I've been playing for 4 years up until that point, and then getting into this new Smash game where I'm just not used to the controls and I kept losing. There's a learning curve for sure, and I'm still trying my best to get a handle on that. And I know that I'm never gonna be the a top tier player or even like considered like competitive. I'm like at most semi competitive. Like a casual competitive, I think is a good term for that. And And I should say, maybe in my mind, I'm still kind of aspiring to be like a really good player, and I know that I'm not going to reach those heights. Similar to how I know that I'm never going to be like, you know, incredibly athletic or whatever. It's just it's. I think it's fine to just accept where you are. And I think that maybe certain goals aren't meant to be striven. You don't have to stride towards certain goals, and just sort of I just sort of have to keep those things in mind, and maybe I'll be less stressed out by that. But I don't know, maybe I'm just being too like hypercritical of myself, because I don't know, I'm just trying to get back into a mentality where I'm like, okay, I got to focus on school and stuff like that, and then you gotta try to figure out, transition from one way of I don't know, living. I don't know, just get to a more balanced level of like relaxing and like school and work activity and whatnot. So yeah, that's sort of my just ramble of me essentially just bitching about the fact that I have to go back to school like pretty soon. But it is what it is. It is what it is. I've been trying to get, in terms of other forms of entertainment. I've been trying to kind of get back into like Netflix and stuff like that. There hasn't really been like a show that's really been, there hasn't really been like a great show that's really hooked me. I think the last show that was like, wow, this is really good, I think was Mindhunter. And I know there's plenty of other shows on there that are just as engaging, but I just haven't gotten around to them because I think it just takes like I've mentioned multiple times in the past, like they just take a certain amount of engagement and just time in order to commitment, time and commitment to get into those series. So I think I've been kind of mostly sort of waiting in anime and stuff like that because, like I've mentioned, they don't require as much thought. I guess I'm not saying that they can't be very philosophical and whatnot, because there's a lot of anime that does do that. But I've been kind of just been watching like shonen anime and stuff like that, which has been it's been fine. It's been pretty good, solid. Nothing really anything too serious. Pretty run of the mill storylines. Just good versus kind of evil, that sort of thing. And I think I have enjoyed myself. I've watched one comedic anime which is called Psyche K, and I've been watching this other shonen anime called Seven Deadly Sins. Both are very different from each other and whatnot. I think one of the issues that I have with anime is that certain character, of course, like when you're making fun of like certain character tropes in anime, like it's pretty obvious that they're making fun of those character tropes. They make it very obvious that it's like it's something that a lot of anime have used previously in the past. But I think sometimes they get a little too out of hand. I don't know what the exact word is, but it's like they it becomes they try to they try to satirize it to a point where it becomes reality. I don't know what it's called. I don't think it's Poe's Law. Poe's Law, I think, relates to the internet, where the internet takes a certain thing, and they satirize it, they make fun of it, but then it becomes to the point where it becomes serious, and then certain people take it so seriously that it becomes like a reality. Like there's like a entire internet community based around this thing that used to be a joke but now is taken seriously. I think that's what Poe's Law is somewhat about. That's not the same thing that I'm trying to make of. I think that anime I think it's hard for a lot of people to get into it because one, stylistically, maybe the animation can be kind of a bit of a departure from like Western animations. And also because sort of the characters that are shown in the series can be sort of, I don't know, because the main character in Seven Deadly Sins is he's not really a good person. You know, he's sort of a joke character. He's incredibly strong for one, but he's also a pervert. You know, like he gropes like the other like protagonists, like the female protagonists. You know, and she doesn't really do anything. Um, I don't I think in a way that's supposed to be, you know, it is supposed to be played as comedic in a sense, but it's also like weird, you know. I think it also has to do with like Japanese culture too. Of course, I'm sure there's plenty of other, you know, forums and videos that talk about that kind of thing where, you know, Japanese culture and how they treat certain things like social interactions and like sexuality is completely different from the way we do it over here. And you know, it might be also have to do with, you know, certain changes that have been made over time. But I don't exactly. I think it is sort of like played for comedic effect, but it sometimes just comes off as sort of, you know, unnecessary in a way because I think that it's just a I'm not like it's, you know, you could of course complain about the fact that there's like a, you know, the main character is like groping the female protagonist without kind of without her consent. You know, you could go with that slant, but you could also argue that there's sort of like a weird disconnect between that character and the audience. And what I mean by that is that like when I'm watching the show, I don't really like. Of course, I care. You know, of course, it's like kind of it's a little off-putting at times seeing those kinds of scenes at times. But like you don't really. It's a for one, it's like a fantasy, so you don't. It's a fantasy that's, you know, that takes place in a fictional world, and there's the consequences in that world aren't really apparent to you as the viewer. You know, of course, you know, there's always the, you know, there's always the it's the good versus evil element in the show that you kind of care about. They have to defeat these demons and whatnot. It's pretty straightforward for the most part, but like the, you know, the character interactions are all sort of lighthearted. You know, like we don't. It's not very emotionally, you're not super emotionally invested is what I'm saying. And I think that I don't know, that's I'm sure that's sort of the purpose of that show, but you know, if you look at it from like a critical eye, you're also kind of like, well, should I take these sort of things more seriously, you know? Which is what I'm trying to say with like the disconnect. I'm sure this is just all sounding rambly to you, but like what I'm trying to say is that like you can't, there's a way you can sort of take it seriously, but like can you really take it seriously, you know? Because if you take it seriously, then it becomes to a point where it's just like, well, this is not, you know, other people are going to look at it and be like, well, this is just like a joke, you know? But there's certain people that do take anime very seriously. I'm not really that kind of audience. I just sort of watch it for enjoyment of it, of, you know. And like of course there's certain anime where I'm like, okay, there is like a little more depth to it and whatnot. But like, you know, shonen anime is just sort of enjoyment, you know. And I don't know, maybe once again I'm probably being way too hypercritical of just like this one anime show. But I don't know, maybe I'm just being like, because I think that when I've seen like a decent amount of like media for the most part, probably not enough to be able to really comment on these kinds of things, especially like cultural differences between different animation types. But you know, while I'm watching this show, which I'm still currently watching, I do enjoy it. You know, like can you really you know, can you really enjoy the show even though it sort of depicts like the main character in like a certain light, you know? But also it could be played for comedic effect. You know, he's not a perfect character. He's a pervert. You know, like I think that's sort of like more in line with the creators wanted. You know, he's a pervert, but he's also a good guy. You know, but he's also a pervert. That kind of thing. You know, and none of this is really meant to be taken seriously because it's taken place in a fictionalized world. There's a talking pig. I think I'm just being too hypercritical, is what I'm trying to say. So that rambling meant really nothing in the end. Um, but hopefully like you can kind of see the argument that I'm trying to go for is that there's that like you know there's an extent to which you should take things seriously. Some things can just be taken at face value. Um, but other things there's not really that much depth to it, you know, and I think it's fine for it to be that way, you know. I think maybe I think some I think that let's see. Let's see what the overarching argument I'm trying to make is. I think that some people who watch anime take it a little too seriously at times, um, and that's possibly another reason why it's off-putting for other potential viewers to get into the genre because of how, you know, seriously people take it. You know, I think that if you know if they didn't overemphasize certain elements of anime, then more people might be into it. You know, or just people just aren't into it. You know, I don't know. I don't know for sure. Um, I think just people are just gonna have their preferences, and I just have to accept that. I'm not like a type of person that's saying like, oh, you have to watch it. You know, just enjoy what you want. Don't listen to me. Go listen to some other podcast or something. That's a good way to end it off. Um, I should probably get back. Oh shit! I need to go fucking buy some stuff. God damn it! This is just me just saying it. I'm not even talking to anyone. I'm just reminding myself that I have to go get supplies for class. As always, I'm always like last minute on these things, so I should probably go do that before it's too late. Anyways, thanks for listening. This has been Save the Semantics, signing off.